What about in terms of food shopping? Is there anything that that consumers can do to
Yes, there's
the
the whole
environment?
area of organic food, and I think that one of the organic foods that's grown without the use of chemicals, either pesticides or fertilisers. And actually I brought along some various examples today. Carrot here. Oh, wait. There we are.
A carrot.
A carrot and an apple. Now you might think that they look like the most scrummy carrot or apple that you've ever seen, but in fact, often organic vegetables might not look as perfect as the chemical alternatives, because after all, that's part of what they're doing when they're growing chemical fruit and vegetables, is making it identical size and colour. So it's sort of like our consumers have been trained to expect everything to look absolutely sort of perfect. And I think that it's important to understand that by not accepting that there are sometimes a few blemishes, you're often getting a much better flavour and overall a healthier product.
It's Green Shopping Day, but just how green are our grocers? Well, if you've been to your supermarket this morning or seen the adverts in today's newspapers, you can't have failed to have noticed that today is Green Shopping Day. Everyone, it seems, wants to be seen to be green.
Being green has never been so fashionable, and whether it's petrol or potatoes, big business is falling over itself to produce goods which are environment friendly.
Caring for the environment, is it for cranks? Or is it now big business?
A green consumer is someone who actually chooses the products and actually looks at what effect that product might have on the environment and goes for the one that is more environmentally friendly than the alternative.
The dye is hot.
Do you know what a green consumer is?
No, no idea.
No. A green consumer, no.
Yes.
I have. I've read about it in the paper that there's been a campaign.
What a lot of people are unaware of is exactly how their consumer purchases affect the environment, and the fact that even within a normal supermarket you do have a choice and you can make a significant contribution.
Well, we're joined now by environmentalist Julia Hales. Good morning to you, Julia.
Good morning.
I guess the first problem one is persuading the customer, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think it's very important that people do realise that they can have a significant effect by choosing one brand rather than another.
What else have you got here then? What should we be buying?
Some Brazil nuts, which might be quite a good example of a product to buy, because they come from tropical rainforests. And by buying them, you're actually encouraging the conservation of tropical rainforests. The Brazilian government have actually said the clearance of rainforests has got completely out of control.
So, I mean, how quickly do you think we will all be converted to the and I'm not being sarcastic, that will help to save the world or save the environment?
Well, I think if you look at what's happened in the sort of health food trend and how that's caught on, it starts probably with a small pocket of people, and then it expands to other people who sort of feel that it's not quite so sort of cranky thing to do, and then the others automatically are brought along, because as more products become available, you then cease to have a choice that you are actually going to be buying something environment friendly.
Is there a way, do you think, that, I mean, I said earlier that most women do the shopping, and that's probably true, isn't it?
Yes, 80% of consumer purchases are made by women, so they are a very significant force. It's not only aerosols that contain this chemical CFCs, it's also in quite a number of other things. Packaging for egg boxes and for hamburger cartons, but also for egg boxes. I can see here that this one's a cardboard egg box, and it's significantly better because the alternatives are either plastic, which is contributing to the enormous sort of waste stream that we already have, pollution, energy and that sort of thing, whereas this is recycled cardboard paper, and that makes a difference.
So your average housewife is a very powerful political individual, really, isn't she?
Yes, I mean, she really is voting every day with her purse.
That's what's frightening, when the consumer
Pesticide,
doesn't really know what's happening. And the pesticides are in the soil, and that keeps coming through each time they have a crop.
Is there more legislation needed so that we do know what's in the food we eat?
Yes, I think that legislation will come in if people start wanting to know. And I mean, I brought in here a number of organic produce, and that is fruit and vegetables that are grown without the use of chemicals. And in fact, it's not only the fact that you're going to have chemical residues on your food if it's grown in normal agricultural methods, but also that the fertilisers that you use for these products are causing nitrate pollution of our rivers, and that gets into our drinking water. So it sort of has a double effect.
Is there a guide to what to buy and what not to, what to watch out for? We know, for instance, to watch out for E numbers if we're worried about our children having additives or something. But what do we watch out for in this circumstance?
It's very difficult to give a sort of uniform message on all products. I think that we would be working towards a sort of labelling scheme whereby things will have just environment friendly, so that you know that they have been screened for all the process. But otherwise, it's quite a complicated message, and we have tried to simplify it in our guide, giving you the sort of basic criteria of what you should be looking out for.
Well, the message is loud and clear, and it's Greens Week next week. We'll be listening to that one too. Thanks for joining us this morning, Julia Hales.
Pleasure.
So much so that this book, The Green Consumer Guide, is currently #1 of the non-fiction paperback bestsellers, and we've got Julia Hales with us, who is one of the authors of it. Wouldn't prices rocket? People would no longer be able to afford cheap chicken and cheap eggs.
Well, actually, it's quite interesting. A lot of people ask that because obviously it's a key issue. But in fact, with environmentally friendly products, some would increase in price if they all became environmentally friendly, and others wouldn't because they would benefit from the economies of scale. And if you, at the moment, a lot of environmentally friendly products really don't sell very much, and therefore they can't benefit from actually having mass production. Whereas
I know at the moment, if you try and find meat that is sort of organically farmed and has no hormones or anything, it is actually much more expensive to shop for your meat at a butcher's like that than to go to a supermarket, isn't it?
It's also a lot more expensive to produce, and I think that they in that area, in terms of organic produce, both with meat and fruit and vegetables, it would be very difficult to knock the price down to chemically grown fruit and vegetables.
Well, viewers, all our callers are overwhelmingly in favour of green consumerism.
The question is that when I'm preparing fresh vegetables, washing and preparing them, I always wonder, have I washed away all the fertilisers and pesticides that they've used?
Good question. Has she?
I think you probably haven't, actually, because I can't guarantee this for certain, but I think the actual chemical residues are often inside the vegetable, because if you spray them over them and you have them when you're growing, they actually get sucked up into the product.
So you're eating it, even if you wash it?
You're eating it, yeah. And it's in bread and all sorts of...
Does that worry you very much, Anne?
Yes, it does worry me frightfully, because it also destroys vitamins if you're taking pesticides into your bloodstream.
Thank you very much, Neve, for coming in and giving some good answers, I think, to those questions.
Is that an insecticide, and is it harmful?
I don't know. I can't answer that one, sir.
There are organic standards that people adhere to if they label their products as organic, and if you want to find out, they have a very detailed way in which to instruct people how to grow those vegetables and make sure that they adhere
well,
to
I'm sorry.
all those
I've got to challenge you on this one, honestly. I mean, ordinary people don't go to specially organic grown shops. We go to street markets.
Most major supermarkets stock organic produce.
But when you're on the North End Road or any of the other street markets, the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, and you see some nice-looking broccoli on a stall, you've got no way of knowing, unless you're psychic, whether it's...
One of the largest supermarket chains in London is in the North End Road, and it has a very large range of organic produce, so I don't think you'd have a problem if you were there.
Well, what's more important
So are you saying, basically, is your advice don't buy on a market where nothing's labelled, only buy where foods are labelled?
No, not
are
necessarily,
you going
but
that far?
if you're going to buy organic food, which is an important step in order to help preserve the environment, you can actually get it from most of the major supermarkets, which is, after all, where most people shop. I think you'd find very few people here who go to the North End Road.
What about the argument that it's a middle-class fad and that green is a whole load of hocus pocus? I'm going to lose, Julia, £6.55 more to buy green. Now,
can I come
Julia,
back on that?
well, I think you've got to come back on that because you're going off to launch the conference.
I mean, as I pointed out, the whole of your trolley is in relation to organic produce versus non-organic produce, and quite honestly, environmentally friendly products, or more environment-friendly products, covers a lot more products than that.
Well, it's green versus anti-green.
It's only because you've tried to sort out it in a nice, clear definition of a sort of good green basket and a sort of nasty red basket.
Sorted a little. But, I mean, for somebody on a limited...